now. Okay. Hey, Andrew, welcome to The Market is Open.
Hey Josh, how's it going?
Not bad. We did a video last week on the airlines. A lot has happened since then. We
Yeah,
want
we're gonna
to,
go over some airlines in this video.
yeah, going over some airlines, see what's new, how their stocks have done. Their stocks have been definitely hammered. Southwest has been, one of the top performers of all the airlines, but most of them are down, 40%. You'd be happy. You'd be happy if your airline was down only 40%, right? So if we bring up all the airlines, we see that, Save has been the worst performer. Can anyone save them? They're down 86%
Wow.
in if we go year to date, Save is down 79%. United American is down 75%. Southwest only down 41%. I managed to jump out of the airplane, with my life vest on at 30, parachute on, I should say, at 39. I jumped out like half my position at 39, and then I was jumped out the other half at 38. I just couldn't sleep at night owning an airline, and it's not that I just couldn't sleep at night. It's like we're going to go through some analysis of Southwest in a second and see, owning an airline right now is kind of a scary proposition.
So yeah, Love is at 31.94 and Americans at 10.29 and so
Yeah,
forth.
and you managed to jump out of the American Airlines
Yeah, I
plane
jumped
as
out at
well.
like 15, so but it was already down so much. Like in order to make a recovery from down 80%, you need to go up like 500% or whatever, 400%. So uh it's very difficult to come back from that. But they're not flying at all right now and they're just getting worse.
Has there been reports that Buffy is buying
Well,
so
Buffy owns an airline. I can't remember which one, but like I don't know what he's doing now. But he also has 120 billion in cash just sitting there, right? At least he did before any of this started. So he was just kind of sitting there waiting, and he
yeah.
probably still is, and he always is, right? And remember during the recession, he just offered people basically bailouts, little small bailouts at really
Mhm.
great interest rates. Like he gave Goldman Sachs, what was
Yeah.
it, 10 billion and 10% interest. So
But I think like Buffett may also be caught with his pants down, sort of like I was in a different one where like
yeah,
I think so Buffett's sales, like the sales must have happened like in the last month or at the beginning of the month. Like I was, my pants were down and I was buying Southwest at like 46, 47, and then I reversed course after reading a lot of news. And, I'm saying this is getting really bad. So I wonder if Buffett was buying, at the beginning of the month or at last month. Like I don't think he knew what this was going to happen in this case. Like he's on. You can see videos of him saying this isn't anything like 2008. That was at the beginning of March.
oh yeah, like I
That
agree.
was
I
actually
think
mid March. It was like March 8th or something. He's like, this is not 2008. And I don't think I'm not going to call Buffett dumb for that because I agreed when Buffett said that. I'm like, you tell him more. You tell them more and you're completely right. And then 2 days later, I'm like, this is 10 times 2008. Like I was having a mental panic attack thinking like, not only are my stocks going to go to zero, like I'm not going to be able to like this whole economy could collapse sort of thing. So it's just like I don't know if Buffett is very happy with his Delta purchases right now.
the Delta. Yeah, so I don't. I agree. I don't think he's happy, but at the same time, he's like super well prepared. Like he has what 500 million in Delta, but 120 billion just sitting on the sidelines waiting to put into whatever he wants. So I don't think he's like, regardless of what he says, he's still his financials show that he's quite well positioned to do.
Yeah, he's not going to bankrupt Berkshire over this, but I don't think Buffett does not want to put more money into Delta because
Oh
he
no.
he can't like put more equity in because then he doesn't want to backstop all the debt. Like Buffett would never take an investment that relied then on sort of a government backstop on top of it. On top, like even in 2008, he kind of owned Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo's like, we don't need a government bailout, and then the government's like, Wells Fargo, you got it, you must take this Wells, and then
Mhm.
that's fine. But Buffett didn't really buy any investment that needed such a backstop. I guess we could say GE did get some guarantees from the government. I think the government guaranteed like their debt, but they didn't really bail out GE. They just kind of said, "Hey GE, hey debt holders, don't sell GE stock because if they do go bankrupt, then we'll backstop." But so Buffett, I don't really trust it. I think Buffett might have made an error like me, but unfortunately for Buffett, I trade thousands of dollars. He trades millions, so he can't really exit that position. He kind of has to go down. He kind of has to go down with the ship at this point on his
Yeah, we can
airline. And
afford to go down with the ship.
Yeah, and he's done so well on his Apple investment that he's allowed to, make a few screw ups. Like Buffett's just destroyed it. Like he puts a $40 billion investment in Apple, and I think he got kind of lucky about it just because he talks like, oh, my grandchildren say it's like a really good phone, but whatever. You made 40 billion on that investment. He's allowed to screw up on like 6 more. So I thought this was a great article by the Wall Street Journal. They talk about the mostly unintended consequences of airline bailouts. So they just basically say, even in a crisis that could dwarf 9/11, bailouts are a bitter pill for taxpayers to swallow. I'm not really sure why, considering like in the financial crisis, do you remember people being bailed out? Like, remember the financial crisis? It's like, oh, goddamn AIG, goddamn the banks. It's like, the people being bailed out right now for that $1 trillion is you. It's not the companies. It's everyone. Like this is 2008 when the banks got bailed out and we got to all criticize them. I don't remember individuals being bailed out. Like that was the whole critique. It's like, why is Wall Street be bailed out and not me? That's what everyone said.
Yeah, but
But,
it
but
definitely affects the people, is what you're saying.
no, what I'm saying is the people are the ones being bailed out now, and the companies are the ones who haven't been, like both I guess haven't been bailed out, but they're talking about giving people $1 trillion checks and stuff
Oh
like,
yeah,
and banks being, or utility bills being slashed, and it's like, you guys are being bailed out. What do you have to complain about at this point in time? Like, are you guys like, so naive, or so are you such hypocrites? Like, if the airlines, if you need to be bailed out, then what do you think the airlines, where their 100% of the revenue just went to zero? Of course they need to be bailed out. Why do you need to be bailed out, right? It's like,
yeah,
shouldn't you, if you have a job, shouldn't you have kept a couple months savings? It's like the airlines have a couple months savings, and they're also paying 100,000 employees. You just need to take care of yourself. Like, I don't blame anyone, but what I'm saying is like, I don't understand why it's such a bitter pill. It's like, the revenue dried up 100%, not because they didn't want to fly, but the government told them not to fly. And the government, I think, is correct, but the government completely mishandled the situation leading to this, where U.S. senators were selling their stock. So apparently someone had some sort of insight, but no one really thought this would happen. And it's just like the governments are like, well, don't fly. And you're telling me that these airlines are, it's the taxpayers are the ones who should feel bad. It's like, no, I think we're all in this mistake together, and I don't really think you should feel bad about the government and all of us putting them in this position.
yeah. It's sort of just like a poorly written headline to say that, to say like, oh, it's taxpayer money, but isn't all money? Like, also, where's the money coming from? Is it even taxpayer money? Or are they just like printing more money? Like, eventually, it's the whole country that's going to end up paying for it, but it's a necessary thing that needs to be done to save people,
Yeah,
these companies.
and my point is just mostly that it's like, I mean, we're all caught with our pants down. So when this is a cool thing when they look at like airlines, so they show this like Z score. The higher score is the better, and basically what they do is the higher you score in each of, there's like 5 different ratios, like liquidity. They look at like 3 or 4 or 5 different ratios, and they add them all up. And the higher you are, the less of a chance to go bankrupt. But when they look at the bankruptcy score, it's like Southwest is like off the charts. It's like right at the top. It's like you can't even see it. It's so much higher. Look at like American Airlines. It's like, they have no months covered by revenue. Like they're completely screwed. And we can
So
look
the
it up.
higher, the better.
Yeah, so you can see which ones are
Yeah.
like go
It's kind of a
Southwest.
weird it's kind of a weird situation though, because like if you're not operating and you're not doing anything, like technically all you need to do is continue paying your employees, I'm assuming, right?
Hmm.
But you're not actually spending any money on uh, your flights or anything like that. And you're not spending any money on advertising because there's no point. So like your SG&A, I would assume, would drop dramatically, and your wages would stay high, and I think that's what they need to continue paying for. But other than that, like your expenses also drop. Your revenue drops to zero, but your expenses also drop to close to zero. No?
Yeah, so that's kind of what we should go through right now. So we read this was from March 16th with Southwest, and they entered into a new credit facility, and the company says it's withdrawing their prior guidance, and they basically say the company will soon reduce published flight. They say available seat miles will be down 20% for the year, and then okay, yeah. So then the company's month-to-date load factor was 67%, recent days towards 50%, and they say it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
So the company basically says it has about $6.2 billion of cash right now. So let's kind of just do a quick analysis for them and see, can they survive? So if we take their operating revenue and
Yeah.
we multiply it from last year by 50% available seat miles, and then let's multiply it by like a 40% load capacity, we would see the revenue would be about 4.5 billion. And
Mm-hmm.
then salaries, wages, we're just going to multiply that only by their available seat miles. Maybe they could take a few less flight attendants, so maybe we'll multiply that by 0.9.
Don't you need to keep that at 8,000, whatever, 8 million, 8 billion?
No, because a lot of that is like going to flight attendants and stuff like that.
Are they like what type of uh salaries? Like the salaries you need to keep paying regardless of whether people are working or not, no?
I think you can like furlough employees or lay them off.
Okay.
So like that's the idea that like Marriott was talking about that they're going to furlough hundreds of thousands of employees.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a big risk for Southwest too. I mean, you might lose all your top employees, but you have to do it, sort of thing. Like
Okay.
I saw an interview today on CNBC where this guy who owns like Shake Shack or something like that, they laid off like 80% of their employees, and it's like he's saying how they have to retrain everyone when they come back.
Yeah.
So we know the fuel costs. So we know this. It was 4.4 billion last year, and we know that they're going to be flying half as much, and then fuel is a lot cheaper. So let's multiply that twice by 0.5 and just say somehow that drops that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
in a pretty lucky scenario, they're going to lose like 3 billion before depreciation, and they're probably going to be spending about 1.2 billion. So on capex this year, even if they can delay it, hopefully they can delay it. But so they're going to lose like 4.2 billion of cash over a year span of this.
Do they not spend money on like marketing?
Exactly, that's in like the other operating expenses. So I'm assuming
Where?
right now they'll drop that a huge amount.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
So like
Oh yeah, like yeah.
Southwest can survive, but the problem with me holding Southwest and why I jumped out of the investment was I think aero travel will be lower than normal for a while.
Yeah, why would anybody want to travel on the plane that recycles the air?
Yeah, it's not just that. It's just like people aren't going to be in the mood to like travel a lot.
Plus, you need to rebook everything, and normally you book in the future.
Exactly. So that's Southwest, and they're the best case, and they have 22 billion of revenue. So if they were to lose like 3 billion or 4 billion of cash in their position, it's just like every other airline can't survive, obviously, without a bailout. And let's just go through a couple of other airlines. Yeah, so just to look at Air Canada, Air Canada's also, I think Air Canada's down more than any other airline stock, or just as much as Save. Okay, so like the Air Canada press release I found very funny is like, so like, yeah, withdraws 2020-21 guidance. Current liquidity level 7.3 billion. And then it's like
Help! We're needing
capacity
to.
reduction. And then he's like, the first two paragraphs were definitely written by the CEO. He's like, COVID-19, yeah, presents a global, it's unprecedented and compounded by uncertainty. However, we are confident that after a decade of transformation, guys, come on, we're Air Canada. We're the only airline in Canada. We got the agility, we got the team, we
Yeah.
got the route network, we got that solid balance sheet, we got record liquidity levels, higher debt ratings, low leverage, and a significant pension plan surplus. These deep strengths enable us to fully focus on both line safety as well. We get to focus our attention on both safety. Like we're not even really even looking at that we're not flying. We're focusing on how safe our planes are right now and the well-being of our customers, even though we don't have any, and our employees. So that's like the president chief executive officer, and then like said our president chief executive officer, and then you could tell like after that is like written by someone else at the company, and then it's like the crisis facing our industry is worsening. They're like their hands are like shaking. Around the world, adopt increasingly severe measures, national lockdowns and travel restrictions. We understand that governments in the United States, like they're like trembling. And
Yeah.
then it's like our industry associations have been and will continue these reparations to the government. However, we are not awaiting any decision as we believed decisive action is best. And then it's just
Oh, the
like,
CEO comes back.
no, I don't think the CEO actually.
Oh,
Okay.
wait. At Air Canada, our core value is safety.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. The CEO does come back for a paragraph, but then it's just like the regular people, and then it's just like a combination, and then it's like to preserve cash. It's like Air Canada will have to have a capital deferral program targeting at least 500 million. It's like given your situation, Air Canada 18 billion of revenue, 500 million. Come on, that's not good enough. Air Canada suspended its share repurchases program. Okay, March 2nd. maybe a little too late there, Air Canada. Air Canada drew down a $600 million revolving credit facility. In addition, it's working to raise additional liquidity, which will require pro rata securities from its unencumbered asset pool. So that's saying, hey, we need to secure debt against our planes because no one will even lend us any money right now. Air Canada assumes, so it says Air Canada has cash and cash equivalents of $7.1 billion. In addition, it has a Canadian $200 million revolving credit facility, which it intends to draw down next week. So if you have all this liquidity, you got to draw down another $200 million. So you can see it's like a very panicky press release.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So no, it makes sense. Every airline's panicky, but it's just kind of funny. The CEO, he's just like, we got everything, guys. And then it's like you read the rest of the press release. It's just like, were these written by different people and not coordinated at all? So that's
it's kind of weird, especially with the buybacks, like you were saying, because the buybacks have been pretty controversial lately, especially for bailouts. Like if you're bailing out these companies, why are they buying back shares? And you just pointed out that Air Canada had to suspend the buybacks on March 2nd, which like a little too late there. But like the buyback money technically goes to investors who are selling the stock. Like that, those are the people who are benefiting from buybacks and long-term shareholders. But then the company doesn't have any money, and when this crisis happens, now they need a bailout. So I guess the alternative is what? Like keep a bunch of cash on your balance sheet, like an Apple-sized balance sheet, so that if anything happens.
The thing is, like, so most of the airlines, see, companies like Southwest did take appropriate measures, but they also have bought back a lot of stock recently. So perhaps some of the airlines kept a little too little. So if we look at American Airlines, they have $8 billion of current assets and $18 billion of current liabilities. Like Southwest has that number. The ratio is not, like, I understand as an airline, you get bookings ahead of time. Like maybe in the future, airlines want to be closer to a 1-to-1. Like I understand people generally book and they don't cancel. But I think that's maybe where they erred.
Like,
but you can't even do anything. You can't even really do too much next time. I guess maybe airlines just buy insurance or something for this, because like this is not, no business can necessarily support, like what is an airline going to do? Carry 5 months of revenue around or something like that for an incident?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm saying it sounds a little ridiculous.
Like I think the airline business model was pretty perfect in this. It's just it was an event that no one really considered.
Yeah, but the airlines, but they still have like so much debt on their balance sheets. Like,
it's true, some of them do. I mean, American Airlines came out of bankruptcy, so they had a lot of debt. So American Airlines has one of the most, and perhaps they should have paid that off a little quicker. But at the same time, they still would have probably been in a situation had they paid back the debt holders. They would have had a lot of. They would have had so much cash on their balance sheet.
Yeah, that's true.
Like they would have had less debt, but they wouldn't have had the cash. Like all the airlines would have been in a tricky situation no matter what, because like nothing of this sort would have been in a model. All right. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video on the airlines. Let us know what companies and topics you'd like to see next.
And please subscribe.